So welcome aboard, everybody, to the April Sydney DevOps Meetup. Oh, actually, 1 second. I've just got something missing on the slides that I need to pull up. So there we go. Yes, welcome, everyone. I'm Lindsay, and my co-organizer, Michael, is lurking somewhere here. So I would like to first acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the country throughout Australia, which in my case is the Guringai people, and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. Sovereignty has never been ceded and treaties have never been signed. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So welcome to the April meetup. It's lovely to have you all here. We've got a nice little turnout tonight, which is lovely to have so many folks on. Quick refresher on the code of conduct. So we don't tolerate harassment of media participants in any form. Obviously, in a digital form like this, the harassment can take a bit of a different form than what you would normally have, in a face-to-face event. But the same code of conduct applies here. So we expect that all communication is appropriate for a professional audience. And I'd like to remind people that harassment and sexist, racist, or exclusionary jokes are not appropriate at these events. Nice thing about doing it digitally is that it's really simple to kick people if they do that. We haven't had to do that up until now, but I just would like everybody to know that that is an option in case that happens. If you are feeling unsafe and you'd like to let me know about it, please hit me up either through the Zoom chat here or contact me otherwise, like probably through Twitter or email. My details are on the meetup page. So tonight's agenda, it's a nice, small, short, sharp meetup that we're doing tonight. So we've got the intro, which is the thing that I'm doing right now. We've got a lightning talk. We're going to do a quick events and jobs section, and then one more lightning talk. Put out a bit of a call earlier this week for people to volunteer lightning talks. Normally we get a couple of people that pop up at the last moment and volunteer. We didn't have anybody do that this time, which was sort of interesting to see. I wonder if people are feeling a bit meetup out at the moment, or they're just sick of the virtual format. But it is what it is, and we're just going to roll with it. So it'll be a nice, short, sharp meetup tonight. If you are thinking about volunteering and giving a talk, there is no better time than the present. We would love to have you speak. So also in the middle of the section of the meetup, we've got a jobs bit. So if you're looking to fill a position, you're going to have 30 seconds to either talk about yourself or talk about the job that you are trying to hire for at the moment. And yeah, if you could let me know down in the chat ahead of time if you've got a job that you want to talk about. I personally have one that I'm going to talk about as well. So yeah, you get to follow in my wake. You won't have to be the first person talking if you've got a job that you want to talk about. The lightning talks tonight, we've got 2 lightning talks, although I have noticed that Ben hasn't joined yet. He joined a little bit late. Oh no, there he is. Awesome. Ben, lovely to have you aboard. I didn't see you before, and now I see you there. That is great.
Yeah, actually, John, from the right at the beginning, but with the name Test too. So
okay.
Well, I changed my name to my real name.
I'm glad that you have upgraded to your real name. That's fantastic. Awesome. So we've got Brad and Burgett talking about how to get a job as a DevOps engineer, and we've got Bin Chan talking about from General OS to Container OS. So it's lovely to have so many folks here and volunteering, and really love to see all this content that people are coming out with. So quick show of hands, either through the video or through the Slack. Who here is this their first time at one of these DevOps meetups? Was there a hand there? Hey, there's a couple there. Fantastic. We've got GSS Wayne, and we've got a Mark who's just popped his video on. It's lovely to see Mark. We've got a Jero, we've got a Vincent Lim. Well, it is lovely to have you all here. I guess the other question that I normally ask here, it changes a little bit in these COVID safe meetups, but how far away have people come from? Is there anybody, are we all here from Sydney, or are people anywhere further afield than Sydney? Manly, yep, that's across the water. Oh, there's Brizzy there from Simon. We've got GSS Wayne in Rockdale. Yes, another fine part of Sydney. A whole bunch of folks from Sydney. Fantastic. Canberra. Oh, that's awesome to have somebody from Canberra there. Represent, Mark. Anywhere further afield outside of New South Wales and I guess the Eastern Seaboard? Do we have anybody from the Western Seaboard, or even further afield, like not in Australia? Nobody volunteering yet. Well, That is great to have so many folks who are not from Sydney come to these meetups. It's one of the really nice things about doing these meetups online. We've had some great international speakers over the last couple of months as well. So yeah, it's really great to see. So probably the folks that were hearing me and Peter opining about this before, the policy that we've sort of had the last couple of months is that the online meetups are going to continue until we've got the vaccine rolled out. Given the events of the last week, this may not be such a good policy. We may never, at the current rate, have an in-person meetup again. So I'm going to have to reevaluate that. I'm thinking about maybe trying to do a trial in-person meetup in a couple of months, and just see how that changes the game. We've got more people that are willing to come along to those. I just really have no idea how what the attendance is going to be like, and the willingness of people to venture out into these sort of events, you know, in the middle of the pandemic. Even though we've got, you know, no community transmission, which is lovely to see, but yeah, it's sort of a weird and interesting time to be attending a meetup and to be organizing a meetup. So yeah, but stay tuned for more in-person meetups. All right, let's just roll into the talks. I've done enough of the opening spiel. So we've got Brad and Birgit talking about how to get a job as a DevOps engineer. I'm going to relinquish the screen and let them take it away.
Thank you. Just going to share my screen. All right, hi everyone. I'm glad that you use Google Slides as your theme as well. It matches pretty well. Yeah, my name is Brad McCoy and this is Birgit Hamilton. We're going to talk a little bit today about how to get a job as a DevOps engineer. Apologies if some of you guys already are a DevOps engineer and this is sort of basic for you, but maybe you can help pass this on to some of your team or other people that you know that might be interested. So today we'll talk a little bit about discount links, certification, how you can get involved in communities like this, which are, you know, there's a lot of cool people out there to help you, and some nice talks. Talk a little bit about study tips, CV tips, LinkedIn tips, a little bit of programming advice, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them as we go, and we'll do our best to answer them. So first of all, the discount links, I post these on my Twitter. There's a lot that come up, but if you are interested, if you don't have a DevOps engineer job at the moment and you do want to get involved in cloud, every cloud provider has like a really generous offering. So GCP, I think it's $300. Use your wife's email again if you want 600. You have AWS, they have quite a good free tier offering as well. So you can do, you know, so many invokes of lambdas, etc. for free, and that's very generous as well. And then you have Azure as well. So if you didn't know about this, you can take some screenshots. I also have some Linux Foundation ones coming up. So there's 30 to 50% off Kubernetes certification, which helps out a lot. You know, that's, you're probably looking at about Australian $200 off, which is great, a great help if your work's not paying. So that's a good place to get started. Also, I would pick a cloud that you want to use. In Australia at the moment, there seems to be a lot of people with AWS skills. So, you know, that means there's also a lot of companies doing AWS, but yeah, each one of these, depending on which one they have their benefits. So I tend to see in the market at the moment that Azure, if you were at least had a few certs in Azure, you probably get a job pretty easy because there seems to be a lot of demand for Microsoft Azure cloud engineers at the moment. And then obviously GCP is boosting up in the game as well. So great place to get started with these free options. So if you're looking, so with certs, what you've got to realize is that these are very valuable to the company. So a lot of the companies have, it's called like a partner program. So that means, you know, they need 3 people in the company that has, you know, at least, let's say in this case, the architect, and they'll get very generous discounts. So when you're looking at certs, I mean, you don't have to be a hero and get all of them. If that's what you're into, that's cool. But a lot of the time, look at the partner status on these websites and just say, okay, the bare minimum to be a partner for a business is, let's say, cloud architect. So go for that, and maybe even if you wanted to branch out, you could do the other clouds as well. And that, if it's your first time getting into this game, then that will sort of boost you up over other people. It's not everything, but I feel like at the moment it does really help a lot, and it gives you that baseline level of you do know at least something, and or you're ready to learn. You're showing encouragement to learn. This is the AWS one as well. So even cloud practitioner, that doesn't really go. It's not like a asked for cert, but what it does give you is it gets you into the study mode and the exam mode. So that's actually a good one to start off with. It's not too much money. If you haven't got them, I would start there. And if it was really easy for you, you could just do it straight away. So I would recommend to sort of start at the cloud practitioner, get in the study mode, get in the exam mode, and then it actually, even if the content's different, it gets you really ready for AWS exams, because the next level associate will be a bit harder. So all the businesses really want is one of those ones on the middle tier. So you could be solutions architect, sysops administrator, or developer. If you pick one of them, that's going to give you a real advantage when you're looking in the market. And for the more senior people as well, it does take a while to get these. So if you did have a DevOps engineer that's sort of, for some reason, certs are like really big this year, so it is always good to start scaling up, even though I don't believe in them myself. When I would look for people in my team, I wouldn't go crazy for certs, but once again, it will give you that advantage over other candidates, the same sort of skills as you. This is Azure as well, so an easy one to do would be the Azure administrator or Azure developer. So the Azure one's a little bit different. They're multi-questions, so they're not as fun as the other ones, but it's a lot, instead of sort of practical, it's more theory for those. So a little bit different study methods for those ones. And last but not least, Kubernetes. So this is hot at the moment. I personally have my CKD, and I'm doing my security specialist at the moment. These ones are really awesome. I had a lot of fun doing them. They're 100% practical. So if you were after any fun certs, I would highly recommend these ones. And there's a great community out there to help you. And it will definitely, if you're after, let's say you already have a job as a DevOps engineer and you want to go to the next level, this will really boost you in the market, because if money is the thing that you're going after, they do pay well at the moment. Community. So obviously get into communities like this one. Sorry, I need to speed up a little bit. We run I run a cloud native meetup as well. It's a Manly one, so you're more than welcome to come. We talk a lot about Kubernetes and upskilling people. And feel free to come along to one of our ones. The next one will be about Kipton with that's an open source tool by Dynatrace. So look out for that one. These are some of the, I use Udemy a lot. It's pretty good, but that's just another. And then now I'll hand you over to Bridget to talk about some CV tips.
Hey, so obviously from my perspective, so my background is also marketing, and your CV is basically your self-marketing. So what's really important here is that you tailor your CV, but also obviously your cover letter, if one is required, to the job, that it's not just a generic one. For me, obviously, looking at something like that, you really want to have things at a first glance. So what I really recommend, and I mean, you might know this, I just find what is really important is what recruiters also do is they put a summary of your key skills and core skills that relate to the job on the first page that they send through, like even before your education and your skills. So that is really important, that you really put that to on point for what job you're applying for. So that is really something that you know filters through to your LinkedIn as well. And I mean, as a DevOps engineer, you would know how it's important to have the right algorithm and the right parameters. So yeah, so that's basically as well when you I guess I'm just getting ahead of myself here with LinkedIn. What's really important there is like, I'm just going to go there. What's really important here is that obviously that it's up to date, and that you share articles or blogs that you relate to, that relate to the job you want to achieve. So for me, obviously from a marketing perspective, and I've get contacted by so many people because of the content that I share, and also agree on, maybe also just not share it, but put a comment on why you would want to share it, why it's important to you, what you agree with. So that is so some really important tips. And I guess what we talked about last time as well is just do not over
Don't lie.
Yeah, don't lie. It's like, I don't want to just say it in a politer way, but yes, exactly. So that's the important thing, is that you're really accurate, and that you do not put in more experience that you don't have, because that will be known, and then obviously ultimately reflects badly on you. So that is I think the key components you really need to look out for, and really make sure that you've got those nailed when you're applying for a job.
Yeah, and you don't need to lie about the skills, and all they're really looking for is if you can solve a problem and you're keen to learn. So, and
just regarding, just quickly enough, regarding to the certifications, I mean, if there is a job that you want and you really, like myself, you maybe a year or two off and you're just looking into the qualifications, look at the jobs that you want to get, and then see what qualifications they're asking for, exactly. And then go, select your certifications around that.
Yeah, no, exactly, What other tips do you have? So not my favorite language, but I would probably recommend Python to learn if you don't have a programming language, because if you work in AWS, you can use like the Boto 3 library that does everything for you. You can all of a sudden interact with every single AWS service. It's good for data. It's probably really easy. Once you install it properly on your computer, that can be a nightmare. But once you get past that hurdle, it's probably quite an easy language to learn, and then just gives you that edge over other people coming from an ops background as well. So GitHub, you don't. I've seen some people sort of almost pretending that they have all this code in the GitHub repos, and they fork like 700 repos, but if you do have like a little hobby project, just keep that one. You don't have to have 100 repos. You just have to have maybe something you're passionate about, or something that you've studied or worked on, just to maybe talk over it. It will give you a good talking point, because a lot of it's culture as well. So they want to know how you talk and meet up with the team. So I think the lightning talk, we're sort of running out of time, but I hope everybody got something out of that. And thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Great, thanks to you both. Any questions for Brad and Birgit? There is a thank you, very helpful comment from Tris, which is lovely to see. I have one question, which is, given the current state of the job market at the moment, what are your feelings around salaries? Does asking for a particular salary peg you into a particular role, or like what are the rough salary ranges that you're seeing out in the market?
Good question. So because COVID, like nothing's really changed with salary. Like if anything, you could probably ask for more. DevOps, as you know, is a hot market. I've seen a lot of blogs and people talking on LinkedIn lately about they've been in the same role for like, let's say 5 years. They say no pay rise first year, no pay rise second year. Hey boss, I'm leaving on my third year. And he's like, why is that? It's like, I've got more money. And the boss says, okay, well, I'll match that. And it's like too late. So I think it's always good to ask for market. So in terms of salary, I think if you're starting off junior, I would be asking, for maybe 100. if you're DevOps engineer, maybe 150. If you're senior, 170. So really push it. Like
I just realized I need to get out of marketing and into DevOps.
Yeah. So really push it, and the worst they can say is that we'll give you less, but always shoot for market. And if you have been in the same company for a while, it's time to have that awkward conversation, because I mean, I myself have been in that boat where I've gone to a company and shot way too low, and it's very, very hard to get out of that boat. So it's like you almost have to leave. So look at the market. I mean, that's rough figures, like junior, maybe 80, sort of coming off that junior 100, 120, 150. Yeah, it's very high. And to be honest, I don't even agree with why some of these guys get paid so much money, but that's what it's like. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a couple of other questions in the chat over here that I'm just going to echo as well. There's a question from Richard Borges, who's asking, with regards to the Azure and AWS, is it a 50-50 market, or what's the rough split there of usage that we're seeing within the industry at the moment?
Yeah, I would say that, in my opinion, AWS is like, you can see in the Gartner quadrant, like it's right up in the box. All the companies have adopted it at an early age. So in terms of market, I would say, rough guess, I would say that probably AWS is 60% of the market, and then Azure, or maybe 55, Azure being 40. The thing is, though, that there's not many Azure engineers out there. So in terms of which one should you go for, if that was the question, it's sort of, it's 50-50 really. Yeah. Same for GCP. Like if you do upskill there, then you're going to get a job as well. So I would say whatever cloud you pick one that you like and you have fun with. And if you have fun, then that's all what DevOps is, and you're going to be successful. Yeah. So
that's great. And to add a little bit of flavor on that, big part of my job is actually like looking at doing research on what people are actually using out in the market. And I would say that your 60% is actually lowballing. I think it's closer to 80 to 85% in the industry using AWS. Yeah. So maybe looking at Azure is a good way to earn a bit more money.
Yeah. Interesting.
And one last question here before we wrap it up. We've got a question from Neil saying, how many hours on average does it take to complete a cert? What's the rough range?
Yeah, so at the moment I've got a baby, so 6 months, a long time before I had a baby. I would say if you spend at least 1 hour on that, I feel like if you do 40 minutes, it's not enough to even get started. You've got to open your book, you've got to sign in. If you study, like, let's say 2 hours a night for 3 months, I think that's going to get you there. That's rough as well, right? So yeah,
that's
around 3 months if you go for it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we're going to call time there, but thank you very much to both of you for coming and giving the talk. It was great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys.
Awesome. All right, let me share my screen. All right, let's roll straight into events then. So I again mentioned this at the very beginning, but we've got a DevOps Days that is in the works. And last month I said it's roughly October. And now I can tell you with a high degree of certainty, I'm about 80% confident that the dates of the conference are going to be on the 28th and 29th down in Melbourne. So if you haven't been to a DevOps Days conference before, it is definitely an experience. So the first half of the day is talks, and the second half of the day is open spaces, where you basically get to drive what you get to talk about with other attendees. So it's a great opportunity to learn and network and rub shoulders with other people in the industry. Of course, in a COVID-safe way, rubbing shoulders. That's going to be an interesting thing for the organizing crew to work out. But they're going to start doing a call out for talks in the next month or two. So definitely keep your ear to the ground if you're keen on giving a talk. I think the other thing that's going to be quite interesting this year, the last couple of DevOps Days that we've had, there's always been, probably about 20 to 30% of the speakers have come internationally. That isn't a possibility this year. So there's going to be a few more speaking slots open, particularly for people who are coming locally. So if you've got something that you want to talk about, DevOps Days is a really fun and inclusive and welcoming conference to do that at. So have a think about what talk you might want to give, and keep an eye out for it. Other than that, there's not too many other events that are happening that I know of. There was B-Sides earlier this month, which apparently went off really, really well. And there's a couple of online DevOps conferences, but yeah, people seem to just be a little bit conferenced out at the moment, which, you know, that's totally understandable. 2020 is, well, it doesn't really feel that far in the rear vision mirror. It's definitely just keeps going. So, all right, brighter things, jobs. Is there anybody that is keen to either talk about themselves because they're looking for work at the moment? Maybe you got inspired by the previous talk and you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to apply for something else and get a raise. So, you know, if you feel like you want to put yourself out there because you decided, like on the spur of the moment, that you're looking for a new job, or folks who are hiring at the moment, feel free to pop up in the chat, and I'll just call on you one at a time. Awesome, we've got one here from Mark. All right, while other folks building up the courage to put themselves forward, I'll talk about the position that I'm going to talk about really quickly. So there is a US-based mob called Arturo. I know a bunch of the folks that work over there. They are an AI property analytics company, and they help out insurance carriers. They are doing an expansion into Australia at the moment. Really solid team, fast growing, fun environment as well. Great people that are working there. AWS based. They're looking for a site reliability engineer position. So definitely taking those typical DevOps methodologies, particularly around, you know, working on CI/CD pipelines, and just making sure the overall efficiency and reliability of Arturo's product is good. It's like, as I said, they are a US-based company, but they are hiring remotely. They're expanding the team that they already have here. So if you're interested in that, feel free to hit me up in the chat afterwards, or hit me up via email or Meetup, and I can very happily forward you a few more details about that job. All right, the other person that popped up was Mark. Mark, go for it. You got 45 seconds. Tell us about the role. Oh, we can't hear you at the moment. You are unmuted though.
Is that better?
That's way better.
All right, sorry about that.
Go for it.
So I wasn't expecting this, so I didn't really prepare anything, but I've made some scribbles. So I'm the software architect at a place called MRI. They're a global company. It's all real estate software, and I'm new to this software architect role. And I'm also formed a new team, DevOps team. I've convinced them that DevOps is super important and can bring a lot more value. So I'm looking for to fill 2 spots. We're all Azure. Mostly PaaS, well, actually, in fact, everything's PaaS and Azure DevOps to deploy. We've still got a few more things from Octopus Deploy and TeamCity to bring across. But yeah, that's it. I'm super excited about the job, like the team that we're putting together. But that's, yeah, if you're interested, let me know. Should I drop the job link into the chat? Or
yeah, feel free to drop it into the chat and on the Meetup page as well as a comment. That's totally fine. Okay,
cool. I'll drop the link in the chat.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks for that chance.
No worries. All right. Is there anybody else that is looking to hire or be hired? All right. That sounds like a no, but as you can see, Mark has posted the job ad in the chat there if you're keen on chatting with him about that. All right. Well, that is the end of the job section. We're just going to jump into our last lightning talk of the night. So we've got Bin Chen talking about from a general operating system to a container operating system. Then I'm going to stop sharing and I'll let you take over. I assume that you are working away hard in the background, but you may not know that you're still on mute. Hopefully you're still able to hear us, Ben. We'll just give Ben another 30 seconds, and then not, we might just roll off for the night.
Can you hear me?
Hey, there we go. We can hear you just fine.
Yeah, I'm still not good at the Zoom. I haven't used too many times. Probably this is the second time I use the Zoom. So thanks for the patience.
No worries. Take your time.
Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. What else? Share screen.
We can see your screen just fine. We're just seeing, yep, there we go. We can see
the
your
notes?
slides. That's fantastic. No notes,
Cool.
but we can see the slides.
Cool. So it's kind of long overdue talks. I prepared the talks like 2 months ago, but because various reasons I haven't delivered until now. And so it means I've probably already forgotten what I've written. So forgive me if I have some mistakes or I don't know what I'm talking about. A little introduction about me. I'm an embedded system engineer, but in the recent few years, I'm kind of doing a DevOps or system engineer, SIE, whatever you want to call it. And I have been building the container orchestration system. It's kind of Mesos OS and Marathon based, and as well as Kubernetes in one of the banks here in Sydney. So this is the agenda. I'm kind of putting my timer here, make sure I didn't go over time. So the topic today is from general operating system to container operating system, and the agenda will be what is the container operating system and why we need it, and what are the main components about the container operating system, and what are the options over there if you want to choose one, and finally how to build one if you really want to build it, as we have been doing now. So we built kind of 2 operating systems for our clusters. So basically it's kind of summarization of the things I have learned and share with you guys. So why we need a container operating system, and we all familiar with those general operating systems like Ubuntu or Red Hat and whatever else. And I think there are 2 reasons, right? The container is now the kind of standard ways and people delivering and deploying and running their services. So, and out of these needs, there is the container operating system for that purpose. And also there's like NIST, it's National Industry Standards. It's recommended actually you use a container specific host operating system instead of a general operating system. The reason was it's more fit for purpose. It has less components have than it is in the general operating system one. And basically it's reducing the attack surface. Yeah, so 2 ways. Container is the general ways people are delivering software nowadays, and also container operating system is more secure. If the security is the primary concern, as definitely that's one of the concerns in the banks. So, these are the list of general operating system. We have Ubuntu, which is Debian based, and we have Fedora, CoreOS, Red Hat, IPM based, and a Chrome OS with Gentoo based, and also the Android. Of course, I'm all talking about Linux only. Windows is not the kind of the topic here. And one of the things people care about, or it's really important, is what's the package management system is used. And that's probably one of the most differentiating thing between different distros. And this is kind of recap of various package management system. And in various distros, like we have Debian, and which is basically Debian and Ubuntu based, and we have RPM, which is Red Hat based. And there's some details about how those package management system actually influence the way you're building the system. So you have to be familiar with those package system, and when you're picking up which is kind of you preferred way of building the your system, or even picking the off-shelf one, you have to familiar with. For example, like the Gentoo and the eBuild and Portage's package management system, probably not everybody familiar with. At least it's not something I'm familiar with, but it's chosen by Gentoo and some derivative from this operating system. And the last one is actually interesting, and you actually can using a Docker to building. A Docker is basically a package manager if we look at it. there's two purposes for Docker. One is it's a package management. You're delivering, you package your system, package your software, and deliver it. Another one is basically run it in a secure sandbox way. So basically two functionality of Docker. And this fit into the context of in container operating system, we will not use the traditional package management system. Instead, we use Docker as a way of managing the packages. So here are the few options you can choose for the if their functionality can fit your purpose. And of course, this is non kind of exhaustive list, but they are most important one. We have Fedora CoreOS, which is from CoreOS, and Container Linux. And Container Linux actually is deprecated and taken over by a company called Kinvolk. I'm not sure I pronounced it right, but anyway, it's called Flatcar. I think lots of people are still using Flatcar because they kind of inheritance from the Container OS. And of course, we have Google OS. If you're using GKE, I think you're running Container OS. So, and if you're running on AWS, probably you're using EKS nodes MI, but you can also build your own. As in our company, we're actually building Red Hat one with our own, because the image we build is passing security check kind of endorsement. We can't use just any random one on the market. And there's a Bolter Rocket, which is quite a new stuff, and I'm quite interested in that one as well. It's built in Rust, if my memory is correct. And there's a Ranch OS. I think Ranch is recently acquired by, I forgot who, but acquired by one of those big players. So Ranch OS, I think, is also used quite popular, especially in the Rancher ecosystem. I think Rancher also have the Kubernetes offering, so on-premise. So in that setting, I think they're using Ranch OS for sure. Here comes a little bit more details in terms of what are the tasks involved in building a container OS. I think there are a few aspects here. The first one, you try to build stuff, right? And there's a few components trying to build. You have to build the kernel. You have to build the packages. The packages means the core service, like manage a network, manage a storage, and whatever the else. And also you have to care about what kind of file system you're going to choose, what the image format you're going to support. The image format is primary concerns. What's the run environment you're going to support? By run environment, I mean, is the image going to run on your local, like in the QEMU environments, or it only supports in the cloud environment like OpenStack or VMware or AWS? So that's the difference. Also impact what kind of container OS you're going to choose. And the next one is customization. It means what kind of how you're going to customize, because every image is generic, and of course different instances have to be instantiate with different user data. And to put it more specifically, there's a few choices there, customization, and there's additional features and also architecture support. Probably the last one doesn't really matter too much, and maybe most of the people are still using Intel servers, but ARM servers still is catching up quite quickly, and in some environment probably you can get some cost saving by picking ARM server instead of Intel one. This is kind of interesting to me because I was coming from the embedded system background, so I'm trying to kind of architecture support. So right from here, it becomes more and more details. I'm probably rushing through some of the slides to fit in the 5 to 10 minutes time frame. But if you're interested in some of the slides, you can stop me over there. Hopefully I can still remember what I'm writing here.
You can go a bit longer if you want, Ben. We're not pressed for time tonight. So if you want to go through these and take a couple more minutes, that's totally fine.
Okay. So if you remember previously, we say here are the tasks, right? We have building, we have run, we have components, we have customization. So this slides is talking about the build. So how you going to build it? There's a few options. Basically, the first option, there's a spectrum of options you can choose. The first option is you're building everything. It really means everything, from the source code, including kernel, everything, and put into a bootable image. Basically, this is the path taken by Google Containers. It's no surprise they're building everything in this way. They're building Chrome in this way. They're building Android in this way. And the reason they want to have total control and every source code, how they build it, in order to provide the most optimized and security final artifacts for you. And the option one probably isn't anyone can take that path. It depends on your team capabilities. So yeah, probably only Google and all those big vendors taking that approach. And we will see later how kind of AWS, what's the approach for AWS when they're building the bottle rocket. For normal people, when I say normal people, I mean people wishing to have something quick and easy. You can building from a working machine and install things as needed and create a new image. This is like probably people building the new images and using Packer or whatever else. So it's quite common. And the other options you're choosing between those two kind of extreme way of doing things and building your own. And the other thing is before Docker, people usually building operating system on the native machines, nice and easy. But nowadays we see more and more people actually building operating system images using Docker. It sounds like a little bit weird, but it's the kind of trend here. The reason is you don't need to install everything onto your host machine to have a building system. You can put in the building environments completely into a Docker, and you can build it everywhere. But of course, assume your building machine or CI/CD machine has the Docker runtime. So this is run, I can repeat here. So you need to understand what kind of the target environment your image is going to run. And local environment is definitely important because you want to, if you want to have a quick testing cycles, you don't want to spin a remote machine and check. It will be very nice and easy if you can just test your machines on the local user QEMU and in the CI/CD pipeline as well. But there's kind of trade-off here. That it's actually quite complex to set up a whole cluster environments in your local or in CI/CD. Takes lots of efforts to do that. Here are the components of an operating system, and there's not too much different from a traditional operating system. So we have bootloader, we have kernel, we have initial MFS. So basically there's low-level stuff. And then you have system libraries and you have system daemon service. And system service depends on, basically it's dealing with the most fundamental stuff in your system, like network, storage, time. Time become very important in distributed system. We have to make sure system clock is synchronized. So there's the time thing here. And on top of that, you will need a container runtime. Docker is the obvious choice, but you don't necessarily have to use Docker. And one important thing is in the container operating system, you don't need the ability to build a Docker image. You just need the ability to run the Docker image. So you just need a container runtime. You don't need container building. So that's the difference between adopting a Docker-D versus using containerd, which is the other operating system, container runtime. That's very important actually. And the last one is instance initialization, cloud init, everybody familiar with. And there's actually the other options called ignition. I think those are the two options people can choose to instant initialization their instance. Actually, we picked the ignition because of the other security concerns. But I'm not going to talk about that here. The last one, you have to, so those are the basic, with all previous components, you already have a basic operating system, but actually that's not enough. You will also need to integrate with your other environments like authentication system and Artifactory system, probably you need a private registry. Like all those information have to install in some way into your operating system as well. So package management continue. What are those? Package management continue. So this basically repeat my previous point. Yeah. After you building the container operating system, all the package from nowadays is managed by image. There's no need for the other components as well. That's the ideal case, but actually in real case, you probably still want the ability when you debug an issue and you can jump in the system and do a remount and make the read-only file system be writable and just do apt get install a debug tools. So that's actually quite nice and easy. Yeah. And the options for the PID one, there's actually no choice need to be here. I think 99% people using systemd. You hate systemd or like it, it's taking over the world already. There's those are more detailed components like system networking, DNS, and time sync. Those are the options like network D and netplan, system resolve D and core DNS. Those are very detailed, but when you actually do operating system, you have to choose. You have to pick one of them and argue for and have you know the exact reason why you pick one versus another. And this is actually very important when you're picking operating system. You have to take into consideration of your exact environment you're trying to run in, because your environment, if you're running on the public cloud, yeah, there's nothing to worry about here. But if you're running on premise, trying to set up a private cloud, you have to understand your environment you're operating on. Like, does your environment support DHCP? It sounds like a crazy question to ask, but yes, we don't actually support DHCP. So it means lots of things need to be done in this regards. And also like the networking setting up, where we have bonding interface. So we have to do special care as well. And yeah, other integration stuff. And also, for example, you probably need to have additional features like encryption or REST. You have to do it by yourself. This is a different container environment. Runtime, you can pick and choose. My suggestion is just go with containerd. As you understand, the Kubernetes is deprecating the default doc status, and there's very good reason to do that. And for Podman, my understanding is it's only OpenShift is using that because yeah, it's Red Hat kind of thing. But I heard a very good thing about Podman, like the running privileged containers and all those systems. You can run systemd container actually in the Podman, but unless you have good reason not to use containerd, I would suggest stick to containerd. The other stuff is more operational concern, like how you're going to update all those patches and inventory management. You understand what's the configuration in your environment. Public cloud, for example, AWS, I'm not quite familiar with the other clouds, but AWS has done a great job. There's already lots of components you can reuse in this regard. But for private cloud, you have to kind of do your own, you do it by yourself, which is sometimes a pain. And security features, yeah, there's lots of things you can do in these respects. I think in public cloud, verified boot in Google Cloud is already implemented. And SC Linux, I'm not quite sure. Probably that's OpenShift is enable SC Linux, not everybody else. Encryption at the rest, I think most of the public cloud are doing that, but it's private cloud you have to do by yourself. I think I'm not going to go through all those other details about how and every container OS is building their stuff and what's the kind of variants for each. So basically it's Rocket from AWS, Google Container OS, FedCar, Ranch OS, and EKS nodes. I will post a link to these slides in the chat if you're interested in those details. And I think I already touched upon what kind of things you should consider when you pick up your own. This is summarization. So why we need container OS and what are components, what are the options are there, and what would you like to do if you really want to build one. That's about it. Thank you. If you have any questions, we can have a chat.
Awesome. Any questions for Ben? And
I'm also interested to know. If anyone actually building a container OS by themselves, and how you're going to build it and why you build it.
Yeah, feel free to post your questions or comments in the chat, or unmute and ask Ben yourself. All right, that looks like it might be it. Thank you very much, Ben. Really appreciate you coming along and giving the talk.
Cool, I finally did it.
You did it. It was great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to share the last slide then, which is thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Lovely to have you all here. If you've been inspired after seeing some of the talks tonight and you want to give a talk yourself, just feel free to ping me through Meetup or email me. Details are available through Meetup. We'd love to have you speak at an upcoming Meetup. All right, we'll see you next month in May. We're always the third Thursday of the month, so hope to see you then. Have a lovely night and stay safe.